Welcome to the Susan Brender Show. It's all about you, featuring shows on health and wellness, the performing arts, politics, and people who inspire you to be your very best. And now, here's Susan Brender.
Back in my day, to become an author, you had to master your craft. You needed a team that you could trust, a team that would never flinch in battle. Back in my day, you would risk losing your rights and pay outrageous amounts for terrible service. Well, yesterday is not today. Gladiator Publishing Company has a century-long reputation for defending writers and readers and winning awards for their record-setting low-cost services and market sales. They are 75 to 80% more cost-effective and never touch your royalties or copyrights. Go with a publisher that is so transparent that they have their contract on their webpage. Have your book treated with honesty, loyalty, and respect, period. Visit us at gladiatorpublishing.com or text us at 417-291-9162.
I'm Susan Brender, and this is the Susan Brender Show. You know, very often you have experiences with people that you find very interesting. Well, there is a center in Delray Beach, Florida, that people attend. It's called the Wiseman Center, and most of the people are seniors. Now, I had the great opportunity to come one day and to give these people an opportunity to become radio hosts. And the one person who really stood out was this great Janice Sloan Riolo. She was you had to hear her. She talked about politics. She talked about all kinds of word events. A wise woman, a very, very wise woman. And today I have the pleasure of introducing Janice Sloan Riolo to the Susan Brender Show. Hello, Janice.
Hello, Susan. Boy, that was a big introduction, let me tell you.
Well,
I have to stop and think, are you really talking about me? But I do go to the Wiseman, and sometimes I feel really wise.
I think most of the time you're wise. Now, let's start with this. You have had so many experiences in your life that stand out. Funny experiences, sad experiences, wise experiences. But I want you to talk a little bit about a funny story that you have for us, because it's so great when people start listening to a show and then they listen to somebody as funny as you are. So tell us a little story, if you will.
Well, let me just tell you, I happen to think of something that's very poignant for Mother's Day, and I hope you won't mind. You know, it's very hard for a woman like me to let go of my children. It took 3 years of pure counseling for me to say, okay, I won't give them any more money, because the counselor kept reminding me that if I keep giving them things, and believe me, they're in their 30s and 40s, but to me they're still 16. So she finally said, you won't have anything for yourself, and I think that was a hit on the head. Now, I'm getting ready to go back to Massachusetts, and I've always had a great deal for sending my car, like $750, $800, and the girl I talked to is a sweetheart. Well, of course, I call in February, but she doesn't get back to me to just before, a week before I'm leaving. And she says, it's now $1,150. I said, $1,150? Are you crazy? I can't send a car for that. I'm just so overwhelmed. And finally she said, well, $1,150, I'm going to lower my part of the money, whatever she gets. So finally, I want to tell you, I called all these car dealerships that rent cars from the airports and where you live. It would have cost me, I said, maybe I'll rent a car. I'll save the miles on my car. This will be great. I'll have a new car to drive around. Over $2,000 to rent. And if you want the insurance, it would have cost me $4,200. I'm on my way to another car already. I couldn't believe it. So what I finally was so desperate, and my son flies everywhere. He has a job that he's always in an airplane. And I call him, and by luck, he's in a car driving home. So I said to him, Matthew, I'm in a little bit of a problem. Maybe you can help me out. And I tell him about the fact that I don't want to pay $1,100 to send my car. He's got to go online because I don't use any electrical things. And he's got to find me a good deal. So he finally calls me back and he said, you know what? I've looked them all up, Mom, and that's a good deal. I said, you've got to be kidding. And this is, I want to tell you, it makes me cry to think of it. This is a boy that, you know, I gave my old cars to. He's had jobs, he's lost jobs, he's working, he's doing well. And for the first time ever, and I don't know if it wasn't because of Mother's Day weekend, I'm sure, he said, Mom, I'll pay this for you. I went, what? Could he have that much money saved? That amazed me. And, of course, being the schnorrer that I am, I said, no, that's all right, honey. That's all right.
Wait, Janice, hold on. Not everybody in our audience knows what a schnorrer is, so why don't you tell them?
Well, I have a hard time explaining that, but it means, you know what? I'm not thinking with my head. I should have just said, thank you so much, I love you, which would have embarrassed him. But instead, no, I'm the gopher. I'm the one that says, oh, I appreciate it. And it didn't hit me till I was sitting down last night in the chair, and I went, this is the first time he's not sending me a coffee card to Dunkin' Donuts or Panera. He's actually, from inside of himself, giving whatever he has. And it just, can you believe it? When your kids do something that you never in a million years would have expected, it hits you on the head and you said, what a dumb person I've been. I just want to always take over and save them. And he really didn't need to be saved.
Mm-hmm. Let me share something with you, Janice, and share it with my audience, because you're talking about things that your children do that you don't expect. So I had a very interesting experience recently, and that is that I went to Phoenix, Arizona, to celebrate my husband's birthday, and my children came along, and they live in California, and they presented my husband with 2 T-shirts. And I'm thinking to myself, that's what they're giving him for his birthday, 2 T-shirts? And they turn the shirts around and it says, welcome to the new grandma and the new grandpa.
Oh, my God. You gave me the chills right through my head. Oh, my God.
So I don't know whether my son's going to call me for Mother's Day, but if he does, and he says, well, you know, happy Mother's Day, I'm going to say to him, and I'm going to say to his wife, I'm going to say, you know what? You gave me the best present you can ever give anybody. You don't need to give me jewelry. You don't need to give me anything. But just the fact that you're going to have a child and I'm going to be a grandma is just, it blows me away. All right, let's move.
Let me just tell you, can I tell you something about that story?
Sure.
Because one day I was looking up to do something for Mother's Day with a group of women. So I looked up about grandmothers or grandparents, and you know what they said? First of all, that's life. There's no better gift than life. Okay? And it really is a part of your husband and your life because it's a lifeline. What more could you ask for? That's amazing. And I don't mean to be a little risque, but it says when grandparents start to brag in a group, a social group, about their children and take out the pictures and talk about the colleges and just about everything, and people go, oh, do we have to listen to this again? That's comparable to the ecstasy that you get when you're eating Godiva candy. You get what I'm saying?
So you're equating Godiva candy to your children telling you that they're going to have a baby, huh?
And I'm equating it to the fact that you are telling us. And therefore, you are getting the charge inside of you as you say it. It's almost like the growing of the baby, the birth of the baby. You understand? The life of the child. You can feel every bit of it, even though you're not there. You really can. Ask any grandparent.
Oh, I bet. And I'm looking.
It's like they did it themselves.
Yeah. Janice, you've led a very interesting life. I know that you graduated from Emerson College with a degree in speech and language, and also had some psych courses as well. And you seem to be the type of person who really understands people and cares about people. Now, I want you to also explain what it's like to suddenly find yourself as an older citizen, as an older person, because people say, oh, look at that old person. He's walking with a cane. He's walking with a walker. Oh, I can't even look at that. But you must have some wise thoughts that you want to give the audience, something that really makes them understand what it feels like to get old.
I got to know. Let me just say, oh, God, I just said. Let me just tell you from my own personal experience and my very best friend and other people that I know, that you don't, all of a sudden, you don't realize you're old. What really happens is something horrible happens in your life, something depressing that changes your life suddenly. And you go through a period of almost like blackness, like you're in a cave, you're by yourself. And by the will of God, I told you I had counseling for 3 years while that was happening. And I went to this center because it was suggested I should go amongst people and not stay by myself. And it was a hard one. And I drove up to this place, parked, went in, looked around. People were running everywhere, doing things. And I sat down near 3 ladies that were strangers and said my name. But you know something? I looked like I came out of a psycho ward in the sense of no makeup. My hair was long and clothes that didn't really match. You get the picture. And they suddenly got up and said, we're going to listen to this guy. Come with us.
Oh, is that unusual?
Well, I was just sitting there. I didn't know where they were going. It was nice they invited me. I looked at them, of course, with my mouth open, and off I went. It turns out the class was called Single Mingle. Now, let me tell you, my husband was still alive. He was sick, and I spent most of my time taking care of him. However, I said, I'm here alone. I guess it's all right to be with singles. Had no idea what the man was going to talk about, but it was an eye-opener. And somebody put their hand out. And that was almost 5 years ago. Can you believe it?
No,
and I go to this center all the time. What I've learned is I'm not really old. I told my daughter one day when she says, well, Ma, do you think you want to think about going someplace to live where people will help you? And I went, oh, my God. No. And I'm walking with a cane now, which is a emotional trauma when you decide you'll be safer if you have a cane so you don't fall. However, it doesn't stop me from going anywhere or doing anything, but I never knew that I would jump in my car at 9 a.m. and be dressed in matching clothes and have lipstick on. You get the picture. And on my way to be with other people. And what I've learned, as I told my daughter, I think like I sound like I'm 35. Mm-hmm. And I know I think like I'm 35. I won't admit to anything.
Right.
But the only problem is I don't look like I'm 35, and I sure as heck can't run like I'm 35.
So what?
Does that give you an idea of how older people react to age?
Well, I'm very appreciative of the fact that you're sharing that with our audience, but let's continue talking about this. So getting old is a matter of attitude is what I hear. Am I correct?
It is, and it's being written about. I think Time Magazine did an article about it. It's being written about in a lot of magazines, in the newspaper, about how to accept who you are and not to think of it in terms of age. Now, my husband was in insurance, and when they offered insurance that you could have should you get older that will take care of you till you die, we laughed about that because the age limit was like in its 70s for men and women. And we were already starting our 60s, so we thought, who needs that?
Of course.
But here in Florida, and I'm sure everywhere else, I just played cards with a lady who told me she was born in 1920. And I went, wait a minute, I can add this up. I could not believe it. She's 98. 98, and she can play canasta like a whiz.
Isn't that something?
So what does that tell you?
Well,
her brain's intact, her mind is there, and she really wants to be amongst people doing something she enjoys.
Very interesting and very important for the audience to understand that it's not necessarily age. It's more about your attitude toward health, taking care of yourself, and having people like you as a friend. Isolation.
Oh, my God, thank you.
Yes, and let's talk about it. Have you met some people who just don't have the desire to be with other people because of different experiences that they had? Perhaps they're depressed, they have anxiety, they have all kinds of things. And what happens when they sort of, like you explained, what happens when they join a group and people welcome them?
Well, it's an eye-opener, and it's a change of thinking, and it takes a little time. I played cards Tuesday with a lady. Her husband died 6 months ago, and when she talked about him, she said everybody loved him. She started to cry, and I said to her, you know what? Try to think of something good, something to make you smile and laugh about your husband. And I learned that if people can do that, think about the past and describe it to yourself as it was, but as you see it now. And sometimes you just crack up laughing, and you're thrilled that you have that memory. And I think that's so important for people. It really is. When you asked her how long were you married, she was thrilled to be able to say over 40 years. Isn't that a miracle? In this day and age, when you meet people who tell you that they've been married for more than 5 or 10 years, you get excited.
Yeah, that's right, because today, as you know, more people are getting divorced or widowed or, are in a situation where they're alone and life is not so easy for them or happy for them. But, okay, so we're going to finish up in a second, but what I want to know is you often talk about politics. You're very involved. You read everything. You try to understand everything, and you do, and you share it. So with regard to politics, is there something you want to tell our audience, but it has to be short, and we will continue doing this again. We'll put you on another show where you really get involved in talking about the things that matter to you. So with regard to politics, is there something you want to tell our audience?
Well, I was one of those flower power people or people who believed the world would be just fine now, that everybody would have bread and butter on their table. I was innocent. I was naive. And recently, by going to current events, talking to people, listening to them, I suddenly realized that I have to come alive and participate in helping us as a nation and a world. And my friends and I do that. We participate in groups that make us feel that we're being active. I told you I have to go put my food out by the door so that the mailman will kill himself taking all my canned goods away. But we have to do that. We have to do something that makes you feel you've shared a part of yourself with the world.
You sure share the part of yourself, more than a part of yourself, with the world. Well, today my guest has been Janice Sloan Riolo. She may be a senior if you look at her, but if you listen to her, all you hear is a person with a great attitude, a person that understands a little bit more about life and wants to share it with everybody. She wants to also, she is educated about all kinds of subjects because she reads, she thinks about things, and that is a perfect way to be when you're older. So thank you so much, Miss Riolo, for being on the Susan.
Oh, thank you, Susan, for making this happen.
Thank you for listening to The Susan Brender Show. To be a guest, email sebrender@yahoo.com.